right, ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to the end line, to the finish line. Season 1 finale, episode 10 of The Outsider. We get a 10-minute chaotic shootout. We get the scene in the cave. We get a post-credit scene. We're going to talk about all those details and much more. So 10 of The Outsider was titled Must, Can't. The group finds itself in a climactic showdown in their last ditch. Desperate attempt to root out El Cuoco. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. We've made it, guys. This is the finale, the last review for Season 1 of The Outsider. Very excited to talk about this spoiler-filled discussion as we've been doing the last 10 weeks, and we got a lot to break down, guys. I'm so excited to be here with you all tonight, but before we dive into it, as you all can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my social media accounts. I talk about other movie news, TV news, box office results, and so much more, so definitely follow me. If you're new to this channel, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Really helps out the channel, and also I really appreciate it. And last but not least, guys, these last 10 episodes, these last 10 weeks, I should say, has been fantastic. I have had such a great time making these videos, but more importantly, interacting with you all. So I'm going to need you all to go ahead and comment your theories, your likes, your dislikes about this finale, your expectations for this show maybe moving forward. We're going to talk about that post-credit scene in this review here. So I just want to know everything that's on your minds. We need to have like a therapy session, guys, because I'm kind of conflicted with this episode, if I'm being honest, but I want to know what you all thought of this episode. And like I said, I've made 2 videos this past week, one regarding who's going to live and who's going to die. Check out that video. I was pretty spot on with my predictions there, and also made a video doing a trailer breakdown, but I will be going live. So I want you all right now, I'm going to leave a poll on the screen somewhere. Are you going to be available on Tuesday or Wednesday? Because I really want to dive deep into this episode with you all, doing my very first ever YouTube live. So comment below. Also do this poll. Will you prefer me to do a YouTube live on this finale and just a show in general on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night? Let me know in the comments, and also vote. So, wow, season 1 finale. We're just going to start off with the positives. I thought that the first 10 minutes were amazing. I didn't know how this show was going to kind of present itself in the finale, where we're going to go show what's going on with the Terry case, where we're going to intercut with some of the stuff that's happening with some of the other characters back in town, where we're going to find out about that boy that was murdered they mentioned, which they didn't bring up again. So many unanswered questions, but I like that the first 10 minutes just started off where it picked up where we left last week. We see the showdown, and I literally wrote on my notes here, 10 minutes and 12 seconds was the opening sequence of that shootout. So within that 10 minutes, complete chaos. It's a bloodbath. Again, if you all checked out my video that I did earlier last week regarding who do I think was going to live and who do I think was going to die, I was pretty spot on except for Claude. I thought Claude was going to be one of the people that was going to die, but he wasn't. But I did say, obviously Holly, that wasn't, it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out, that Holly and Ralph were going to survive that shootout, one being the trailer. But also I had mentioned that Eunice was going to survive, which he did, but also we saw Claude did. So within the first 10 minutes and 12 seconds, bloodbath style, we see Seal get taken out by Jack. We see Howard, drives into, first off, there was so many like kind of head scratching moments for me in that first 10 minutes. Like, I don't know why Howard would, you can see that there's a shootout going on and some crazy stuff going on. And he drives into the fire, like into the gunshots. It kind of confused me, but Howard goes in there. We see what happens with him. He gets blown up, as I had mentioned in my, trailer breakdown, that there was someone by that truck, that blew up. And yes, the person in the truck was unfortunately Andy. Andy did not make the shootout. Again, kind of a questionable moment about him going into the car and trying to pull away. Whatever. RIP to let's, a quiet moment and do, show our respects to the lost ones that we lost in this episode, knowing that we lost Claude, we lost Claude's brother, Seal. We lost Howard, and we lost Andy. So, we lost some, and obviously Alec last week. So we lost some of our heroes, but that first 10 minutes was insane. Like I said, we see the car get blown up. Holly shouts out, "Damn you to hell," to Jack, and that for some reason that kind of resonates with Jack because he stops doing this whole shootout, and we're seeing Jack kind of in a chaotic kind of frenzy as he's shooting our heroes and kind of talking to himself. And, obviously it's a mixture of him being kind of drunk, I assume, and also the control that he's under with El Cuoco. But that kind of resonated with him, and he stops, We see that rattlesnake that we all been talking about this last week or so, bites Jack, and we kind of see everything kind of play out. Eunice is going to stay with Claude, who's kind of, upset that his brother died, protecting him. But then we see Jack kind of come down to our group, and he tells them, El Cuoco's down there, and he, kills himself. So another person that we lost in tonight's finale was Jack. So, man, let me know your guys' thoughts. How did you think that first 10 minutes was? I thought that the execution was pretty solid. There were some weird moments within that scene. Again, I thought the decision making of Howard and Andy was a little off-putting in regards to just I didn't think that was a smart move with them, obviously. But also there was some weird dialogue within that scene. Eunice says, "Oh, it hurts to get shot." It was just some weird moments within that scene. But overall, I was pretty pleased with just, again, the chaotic nature of that scene was pretty epic, pretty cinematic too. It looked like I was watching a movie, but again, very crazy 10 minutes to start off the episode. So, moment we've all been waiting for, at least I've been waiting for, was a scene that we saw in the trailer, which showed us showing Holly and Ralph talking to El Cuoco. So let's set up the scene here, guys. So we see Holly and Ralph, they walk into the cave. Holly mentions that he can be killed, speaking of El Cuoco, because she notices that he needs to hold on to the railings. He's kind of weak, he's vulnerable, so he can be killed, as Holly kind of points out. Get to the moment, guys. We see Ralph. We see Holly notice that he's been in a frenzy, scratching things on the wall, just kind of all over the place. But then they notice there's a light in the background, and that's where we see El Cuoco. He tells them, in a very arrogant type of way, El Cuoco says, "Be careful, watch your step, hold on to the walls." And it was at this point that, is one of the more underrated actors in the show. I can't think of his name right now, but the actor that played Claude had a lot on his plate, guys, because we see him as, obviously Claude, the guy with the strip club, kind of has a criminal background, kind of vulnerable, kind of, you feel bad for him. But then you see the other Claude, the actor playing El Cuoco. I thought that scene was really fantastic, and his acting ability, obviously Cynthia Erivo, Ben Mendelsohn, everyone on this cast has been great, but there was some upper tier as far as, as far as acting goes, and I put Claude up there because he just really did a good job. The way he was, again, the way he carried himself and the way he talked to them in that scene was just really creepy, eerie, and again, applause to that actor that was able to pull off both roles. We see El Cuoco talking to them, and basically the conversation, I wish that we could have had more time with Holly and El Cuoco kind of talking, but obviously Ralph was just ready to blow his head off, which we kind of see that if he did that, the cave was going to collapse, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But Holly's asking El Cuoco, where are you from? Why do you pick the children? All the questions that, as an audience, we want to know these things too. And it seems like within that conversation, guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like El Cuoco doesn't even know who he is. He knows that he has this kind of this myth, this folktale nature about him, and he doesn't want people to know about him because obviously that's his survival, that the less that you know about him, the more he can continue to feed and feast on these, grief and eating these kids and just being chaotic. But, within this moment, we kind of see that it sounds like to me El Cuoco doesn't know if there's other El Cuocos around. He doesn't know how long he's been around. He doesn't even know what exactly he is. So within that scene, I'm just like, this is really kind of fascinating because we really don't, I'm a big Stephen King fan. We don't really get these type of moments with our supernatural villains. We see how things end with Pennywise and this kind of grandiose type of approach, special effects, world-ending turtle, galaxy things. We don't get to talk to some of our villains in that moment. So I thought it was really fascinating, that conversation within Holly and, Ralph. So as that conversation kind of comes in, I don't know why El Cuoco couldn't sense this. Maybe he did. He kind of knew his days were numbered, his minutes were numbered. We see Claude walks in with the shotgun. Obviously, he's kind of upset about his brother being killed. And at that point, I know that, they're not going to be able to stop him from shooting El Cuoco. So we see him shoot El Cuoco, takes him out. Obviously, that echo causes the cave to kind of collapse. And I don't know if this is me, guys. Let me know in the comments. But for a split second, I thought that Claude, that we know as Claude, the good guy Claude, was going to be El Cuoco for a minute. I thought that they were going to do the kind of switcheroo, and that was going to be the cliffhanger, that the Claude that we thought walked out of the cave was El Cuoco, which I still have a theory about that, and we'll talk about that at the end here. But we see that Claude has a rock. Our Claude, who we perceive to be Claude, has a rock on his leg. They take him out. Holly and Ralph proceed to walk out of the cave with Claude, but then Ralph kind of sees a ghost. He sees his son, and let me know in the comments. I don't know who that other boy was. I was sitting next to Ralph's son. I don't know if that was the kid that killed Terry. I don't know who that other person was. Was it one of the Boltons that was their soul was trapped in the cave? Let me know in the comments who that other person was next to his son. But he goes back and tells Holly, "I'll catch up with you all." And in that scene too, for literally a brief second, I thought that Ralph for a second was maybe another El Cuco, because the way he was talking about him, like, we don't need you, we don't need people to know who you are and to create this fear, and scientists are going to cut you up, things of that nature. I thought, like, Ralph was like, is this Ralph? Like, is he a demon? Is he like someone that he feels threatened by El Cuco, so he has to take him out? But no, it's just Ralph kind of just talking and spewing his anger and kind of his feelings about El Cuco. So within that moment, so I should rewind a little bit, because we see that, Holly stabs him. And we're going to talk about Holly and stabbing and scratches and caves and rocks, but we see, Holly stabs him, and we see, kind of fast forward, Ralph takes that knife, stabs El Cuco as he wakes up, and we're seeing El Cuco kind of a last, like, F you to Ralph. We see him transform to all his victims, at least the victims that we saw within this season, not all of the victims from however long he's been alive, but we see the face of, Heath. We see the face of Maria, which we don't find out what happens to Maria, unfortunately. We'll talk about those questions that were left unanswered, but we see Maria. I thought for a second we might have saw Holly, and we also saw a face of an older man. I don't know if that was Terry's dad or if that was someone else. Again, we don't know all the victims that El Cuco has taken. We also saw Terry. So again, let me know in the comments. We saw Heath. I definitely could say we saw Heath. We saw Terry. And then those other faces, let me know who you all thought that was. Again, that last face seemed to be an older man. I didn't know if that was Terry's dad or someone else that he took victim of. So very interesting moment, but we do see, Ralph smash his face in. We see our team kind of puts together a story to kind of cover up their tracks. We see that they kind of give a story to tell Ralph, to tell his wife, Jenny, how to kind of proceed with Glory. Whether Glory believes in El Cuco or not, just go by these things, these instructions. We see the same thing with Claude, and we see them kind of, tell their story so it doesn't seem like they were chasing a monster, essentially. So they get all their kind of ducks in a row. The DA go to Glory and tell them they're going to reopen the Terry case. So that kind of wraps up that storyline. And a somewhat satisfying way, with Terry, his name being cleared of all the charges. We don't know what happened with Maria. We don't know what happened to Heath. We don't know what happened to Tracy. Those characters kind of, unfortunately, I don't know if their name's going to get cleared from the murders, but, if there's a season 2, maybe, I don't know, justice for those characters. We don't know. But it's in, the last few moments here, guys. We see Holly going back home, taking, she's going to drive back to Chicago or wherever she says she's going. Ralph's like, hey, we're a good team together. We need to team up and stuff like that. And we see that, Ralph says, we need to team up. And he asks her what else is out there. And that's where we get that beautiful line that I love from last week's trailer. An outsider knows an outsider. Which was a fascinating line in my opinion. We're going to talk about that here in a bit. And that kind of opens the gates for maybe a season 2 that Holly and Ralph are going to go out and be like these supernatural ghost demon killers for a season 2. But, the biggest moment that I really took away from this episode was the post-credit scene. So we see Holly's back at her home or wherever she is. She goes in the bathroom and she sees Jack behind her, like this ghost figure of Jack. And she turns around, he's gone. She grabs a mirror and she looks in the back of her neck. There's no signs of the controlled nature of El Cuco controlling her. We see her go to her computer, look up Terry, Frankie Peterson's case, and we see that's where Terry's name is cleared and free, and he's not, known for these killings now. But then within this scene, we see Holly playing with her hair, and the camera slowly pans to her arm, and we see a scratch. So this is where I want you guys to interact with me in this section of this video here. So I want to know your theories. Number one, here are my thoughts. So it can go one of a couple ways. One way being the kind of the logical way, which is, she was scratched by the caves, the rocks coming down, scratching her in her arm, and she's leaving in that matter. So there's that, the logical reason. But there's also other reasons. One being, so we kind of know in this season that El Cuco can kind of take the shape of ghosts or other figures. So could it be possible that El Cuco made it seem like our Claude was walking out of the cave and it was really El Cuco and he scratched her at that moment? Or was it when she stabbed El Cuco on the chest and we maybe didn't see that he scratched her when he was so close to her? Or is Holly an outsider herself? We know that she has some supernatural abilities, as I had mentioned throughout this season. kind of the shining abilities. But let me know what you guys are thinking. Again, that's just kind of my thoughts. The cave, she got scratched. El Cuoco kind of made it seem that was Claw, but that was really El Cuoco. He scratched her, or she's some type of kind of entity herself. So let me know what you guys are thinking within that post-credit scene, which definitely kind of opens the doors for a potential season 2 if they do announce that. So there were a couple other questions for me personally that I was hoping to see within this episode that unfortunately wasn't answered. As I had mentioned a couple times in this review, what now with Marie? What now with Heath's name? Also Tracy's name? What about Terry's grandfather? Was there anything else that I kind of wrote down in my notes? The whole thing when Jack had set up the lamps and everything in the woods. And last but not least, what was that situation with that boy that was murdered in last week's episode? We never found out about who killed that boy. So a lot of unanswered questions, but I think that the way that this season ended, that they probably will do a season 2, which I would be all game for. It will probably be somewhere down the line, like in a year and a half, just because Cynthia Erivo is very busy. Ben Mendelsohn's doing his thing. So it will probably be a year or so if we do get a season 2. And I would be down for a season 2 personally. But let me know if you all would want to see a season 2 and hopefully maybe get some of those questions answered. The boy that was murdered, did Maria get her name cleared? Heath, Tracy, what was really going on with Terry's grandfather? Things of that nature. Let me know your thoughts in the comments for a potential season 2. So all in all, just final thoughts about this season, this particular finale. I thought that the finale, it's going to probably be divisive. I know some people probably are not going to be as happy with the way that the show ended, that all the questions weren't answered, which kind of happens with a lot of shows, that we don't always get fed the answers that we want. But I do think that the season did in a satisfying manner, especially when you compare it to, how things kind of wrapped up or how things kind of set up this finale from episode 9. So the season, I really enjoyed the show, guys, overall. As you can see from my reviews, I have been fond of the acting, the writing, Jason Bateman setting the scene for episodes 1 and 2, and then everyone else is carrying out the torch for the rest of the season. I thought it was very interesting how it touched on things like believing in certain things and, how some people, people murdering people. How can a man be capable of doing certain those things? And are those men actually men? They might be demons and monsters, things of that nature. So many complex conversations, so many things that Stephen King brings within this novel that this show played out. I think it's one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations on TV or movies. I think it's one of the best out there. So I really enjoyed this season. I've had such a blast reviewing this episode, reviewing this show, and having such a great time meeting a lot of you all. And just has been a blast. So that's my thoughts on the finale, my thoughts on the show. I love the Ralph character. I love Holly and all of our supporting characters, and I would be down for a season 2. So like, share, comment, subscribe. Like I said, guys, I will be doing a YouTube live either Tuesday or Wednesday, but let me know which day works better for you, because I obviously want as many people as possible to have a great conversation. So definitely answer that poll that I put up on the screen earlier, and just let me know your thoughts in the comments on what day will work better for you to talk about this finale and the show and get into deeper conversations. So again, like, share, comment, subscribe, follow me on all my social media accounts. I might do a couple more videos pertaining to The Outsider, just kind of thoughts for season 2 and kind of unanswered questions type of video. So I might have a couple more videos in the works as the week goes by. So again, guys, thank you all for watching this last review for The Outsider, and maybe not last review for a while because we might get a season 2. Who knows? But thank you all for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.